Hello, hello! Welcome back to, I believe, the final video. Yeah, awesome. So this is the final video. This one is on one of the concepts that I find people struggle with the most when dealing with drawings in Inventor, and that is how to add a center line. So we're going to go over what center lines are, how they're useful, how you place them, and how you get the length of a center line. So a center line is going to look very similar to a dimension. So I'm gonna show you how to make them, and I'm gonna show you like what really you're gonna use them for. So first, on which tab you place dimensions when editing a drawing file, you are gonna go over to the Annotate tab. So if you go to the Annotate tab, you will see towards the middle of the screen here, these 4 buttons like this. Yours might be slightly arranged differently, but if you hover over them, you will see that they are center line bisector, center mark, and centered pattern. So we are only going to be dealing with center line and center mark today. That's really what you're going to have to know for the exam, and that should get you pretty well started. So what we're going to talk about is how to add these center lines to your drawing. So what we're going to do, a center line is a way to really just show where the middle of your part is. You can use them for a bunch of different things. Like for instance, what we're going to do is make a center line between this circle, and you see how it makes this like weird box type thing, this weird cross type thing. Now I'm just going to click this other one down here, and you can see that it actually made a line between the center of these two things. So it found the like concentric point at the center of this circle and the concentric point here. And then you can see like I can actually make this a bit longer if I want to, but I'm actually going to right click and then hit create. That is the difference between center lines and dimensions, is that you do have to have that right click to confirm it by hitting create. So make sure that you do that. Now, what we can do is we can find the length of one of these center lines in a much similar way to how we would use a dimension. So I'm going to show you something here quick though. So like I'm going to click the center of this circle and the center of this circle to get the dimension of that, if it lets me. All right, something's not working the way it should. So if I click one end of the dimension and then the other end, okay. So what I've done here, I'll show you that one more time. You have to be very careful. So I could not just click the center of this right here because it doesn't really have anything for me to, doesn't want to let me click there. I'm going to make sure I zoom in, click the very edge of our dimension, our center line, and then do the same thing over here. And now we're getting this weird thing where it's like at this weird angle, so you want to make sure that it's not, you might have to click another time to make sure that it is right. But we want to make sure that it is parallel to our line, like this. We don't want it to be up like this because then it's not parallel with this line. We want it to stay parallel with it. And when I do that, you should see that this number says 12.74. Great. Now, what we need to do is figure out what if we are asked to increase the precision of our dimension of our center line. So precision is just like when you're precise about something, you're very exact on it, okay? If I say that I'm going to be there precisely at 5, I'm going to walk right in the door at 5 p.m. Like that's what it means to be precise. So when you have numbers like this, 12.74, there's other numbers beyond this that are just kind of getting rounded off. Like you might have seen this in science when you're doing like scientific notation, and you have to have a certain amount of precision, but you don't always need to have every single number. So they might ask you, well, what is the value of this center line? Like, what is the length of this center line with 4 decimal place precision? So what you can do is just double click on your dimension. And when you edit this dimension, what you can do is come over to precision and tolerance. And you can do this on a regular sketch, like a drawing sketch, or even in an assembly. And over here, we should see where it says precision. So you're in the precision and tolerance tab after you've double clicked on your dimension. And we see here that our primary unit, precision, says 2.12. Don't worry about that, okay? This is just telling you how many decimal places it's going. It's not saying that the value is 2.12. So if I click on this, I have a bunch of options here. I can go all the way from 1 decimal place precision to just 1.1. So if I do that, notice how this becomes 12.7 instead of 12.74. Now, if I change the precision to 6 decimal places, you should be able to see that there are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decimals that this goes off to. Now, how big is the difference between 12.74 and 12.735032? Probably not a lot. It makes the world of difference on the exam. That'll be the difference between you getting that question right or wrong. In the real world, it depends what you're working with. Some things you do need to be this precise. Oftentimes, like especially the things that we're making, you're not going to have to worry about like 6 decimal place precision. That's a little absurd. Now, that is the length of the center line. But let me show you something here. Notice how this line, this center line, just kind of extends a little bit over. That is important. So I'm going to show you something real quick. So if I just make a line, not start sketch here, and make a line from right here all the way to right here, and then hit OK. Now I've got a line there, and I'm going to go ahead and finish that sketch and add a dimension to it. Are you still not letting me add a dimension? Show me what you got. Okay, now you should be able to see this. This is a lot different. Okay, notice how these values are completely different. This one says 25, this one says 12. That's a big difference, okay? So when you are asked to find the length of a center line, you need to be really, really careful, okay? You want to make sure that you are getting the very end of the center line and making sure that you find the other end of it. And you're not just clicking the edge of the part, because otherwise you're going to get these questions wrong. I don't want to see that happen because you know how to do them. So be careful with that. Center lines are often longer than the dimension for a line. If you make a line between 2 points and then make a center line between those 2 points, I can't reiterate this enough, that center line is going to be a bit longer. Okay? All right, moving on. So now you should know how to place some center lines. We're going to show you how to place a center mark. So a center mark is very similar. You're going to go to the Annotate tab. Instead of grabbing the center line, you're going to grab the center mark. And then a center mark is just going to give you basically that like cross that we saw earlier. So if I just click it there, notice how it doesn't rotate. I hit OK. Same thing up here. I'm going to grab this center mark and make it there. Cool. Now I've got that. So now, sometimes what you will be asked to do, and you're going to be asked this question in a bit, is to take the, actually I'm going to hold off on that. We'll get to that in the centerline practice. So that's number 6 down here. We will get to that there. So looking at number 5 here, which tool do you use if you want to create a center line that extends around the pattern holes of a part? So if we want to make something like this, I'll try and zoom in so y'all can see it. So we have this circle, like this wheel, that's very similar to what we've got here. Well, how do we get these center lines to like curve around them? Good question. Glad you asked. I'm going to show you right now. So what you're going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And all you're going to do to make this, if you have little pattern holes like this and you want to make sure a center line goes through all of them, grab your regular center line tool. Just a regular center line tool. You're going to click that first circle and then just start clicking each one around. You can honestly skip some of them too, just as long as they're all in this same circle. And then once we connect it, we hit create. Look at that. We've got these. Now, if you notice, some of these have center marks in them, these little crosses, and then the ones that we didn't actually click don't. So if we want to make sure that each one has one, we just go around and click the whole way, click each of the circles. Probably safe bet for you to just do this each time is to make the click for each one. And it's okay if you like accidentally miss a click like you see I just did there. You can just go ahead and extend them later. And then you hit, and then you get. And now you have your patterned circle center mark, center line. And that does go through the center of each of those circles and shows you the line that connects to the center of the next circle. So you can imagine this might be useful if you were trying to line something up or make sure that something fits the way it's supposed to on a drawing. But again, this is something you might be asked on the exam, so make sure you know how to do it. So for that, you are just going to regularly use the main Centerline tool. Okay, now you're going to open centerlinepractice.idw. Okay, I am going to give you the opportunity right now. Pause this video after I'm done explaining. Pause this video and go ahead and try this on your own. Okay, so I'm going to give you time to do that now. If you get stuck, go ahead and come back to this video and I will walk you through how to do the Centerline practice for question number 6 here. Okay, if you're still listening, I'm going to assume that makes it that you would like to hear how to do the centerline.idw practice. So go ahead and open that. And when you open it, you should have something that looks like this. Now, it's not going to have the patterned circles around it, but you should have something that looks like this with the blank circle on the bottom left. Now, what you're going to do, create a circular center line around the small pattern holes on the main component. We've already done that. You're going to grab your center line tool, click each of these as you go around, click, click, click. When you're done, you should have a completed circle, but all you have to do is click all the way around and then right click and hit create, and you should have that. Create a center mark for the main circle. The main circle is the larger circle. So we're going to put a center mark just on this main circle here. Perfect. Hit OK. Got that. Create a center line between the center of the main circle and the center of the small circle on the bottom left. So a center line between those two. I'm going to grab my center line tool. I'm going to click the circle that I want to make the center line for, and then this one here. And hit create. So now that we have that, create a dimension that measures the acute angle between the center marks. The key word in here is the acute angle. Hopefully you know the difference between an acute angle, a right angle, and an obtuse angle. If you don't, I put a little clip to a Family Guy clip. That is how I always have remembered it. And how you can remember what angles are acute and which ones are obtuse. Obtuse angles are the kind of like beefier wide angle. They're greater than 90 degrees. An acute angle is an angle that is less than 90 degrees. Okay, so we are going to find, we have some angles in here. We want to make sure that we're not doing one that's like more than what we want here. So what we want is actually this like small acute angle between these two lines here, okay? Because this one is, like we have this center line here, so there's an acute angle between this line here and this line here. So I'm going to grab my dimension tool, click here, and then click the angle right next to it. And you're going to see, you're going to be given two options for this. You're going to have one that's 159 some degrees, and then another one that should be 21 degrees. Only one of these angles is acute. You can click both of these things right and still get the wrong answer if you put the wrong dimension. So the 21 is the acute angle, okay? And now it's giving us like, okay, you want your precision, we just want to hit okay, because 21 is our acute angle. If we try this again, we would see that 159 is our obtuse angle. Now, if we add those together, you are going to get what? Hopefully you figured out that you get 180. 180 is the angle between all the way around here. Okay, if we add 21 and 159, the angle between these two is 180. Okay, so that is a good check for you. So make sure that you get the acute angle there. Paste a screenshot of your finished product below. There you go. That's what you got. Oh no, there's more videos. Cool. Well, I'll see you in the next one. All right, we'll learn about balloons.